So, as shared, the subject for today is emerging courage, and it's very beautiful to hear the stories of courage that we each have. So, thank you for sharing. And just I wanted to, as I was thinking about this subject, I was thinking that courage is like an energy. It's like a force that we have, whether we realize it or not. But it's like an energy that we need and that is available for us to face our fears. So there might be the fear of moving to a new place, or like you said, driving a car in a foreign country, or anything that for you is something that is taking you out of your comfort zone, that you're not immediately familiar or comfortable with. It could be conversations, it could be relationships with people, whatever it is. But it's like that energy that I get, that I need in order to face my fears. And these could come up in the form of threats. So the threat of, you might have an accident, or you might lose everything, or you might fail, you might do badly. So the threats of many things, or the temptations. So the temptation in some way to go against your principles, to go against what you know is right. And so even there we need courage. And so it's the energy that I might have available for myself in order to face those situations. And so before we continue, I wanted to read immediately a piece by Dadi Janki on courage, because I think it gives us quite a nice overview. I just wanted to check. Marisette, did you want to say something? I saw your hand up, but if you would, please do. And anyway, so courage. I need courage to remain true to myself in today's artificial world. This is not a small thing. However, the very purpose of a spiritual study is to restore courage. The courage to stand for what I believe in. And so we need to check very carefully, what is it that I believe in? What is it that's important to me? What are the ways of thinking and being, the attitudes that I am adopting, I have adopted, and that I believe are healthy and ways of being that will bring happiness and contentment and peace and so on into my life, that will make my life and the lives of people around me more wonderful. So I need the courage to stand for what I believe in. My original true nature is of peace and divinity. To experience this is to be convinced of the absolute value of my intrinsic worth. And then I can face any opposition with the strength of my convictions. And so that's when my convictions or my certainty lies in the very truth and the very essence of my being, then you can't go wrong with that. You may not know how to do something, you may not have the skills or the talents, but if you have the courage and the faith, then somehow whatever you do will be successful. Because it's done from a place, from a pure heart. And so even if there are mistakes in that, somehow it's better to do it and make that mistake rather than not do it because of the fear of making the mistake. And so it's quite and that's exactly where we need the courage. So So many people have difficulty believing in their higher self. Others simply no longer believe in the future. Self-realization removes doubts, and my original nature is peace. I'm not a slave to my personality traits. So maybe in my life I've developed certain personality traits, maybe of worrying about things, for example, that I very easily worry and easily, start to overthink about things. So that's a personality trait that I have grown in my life. But what we need to do is to be able to look at that as a personality trait and not as my original nature. And when we can see the difference, then whilst being in our original nature, whilst being sure that actually my nature and my original condition is to be at peace with myself. And I use that conviction and I face the worries that I have. And I have this dialogue with myself. That's when I can actually come through that and transform these personality traits. So I'm not a slave to my personality traits, but I'm their creator. I am a spectator as well as an actor in the drama of life. Whatever is happening is beneficial. As I incorporate these truths into my life, my courage will never fail me. And so this is the amazing thing, is that no one really needs to teach us courage. But when we realize and recognize the need for this energy, and we allow it to emerge, and sometimes it just emerges, it just comes, because we might have paved the way for that, because of our sureness, our certainty of who we are. So then that transforms into the energy of courage at the time of need. Or it might transform itself into the energy of tolerance at the time of need, or of some other quality. But the important thing is the foundation, which is knowing and being certain about who I am. And so we're not talking about being certain of our capacities. That we don't know. So I don't know how I'm going to face, for example, the death of my body, the moment of death. I don't know. I know how I would like to face it. Or I don't know how I'm going to face the passing of a loved one, or if something happens, I don't know how I'm going to face a sickness or anything, the loss of something. But what I do know, so I don't know my capacity. We have certain little tests, and so we have these moments where we can realize that, oh gosh, I need to build up my courage, or I need to build up my tolerance, because maybe in a little situation I wasn't able to tolerate in the way that I would like to, or I wasn't able to face a situation with the amount of courage that I would like to, in order to come through stronger, more peaceful, maybe with a deeper relationship with whatever it is that I had to face. And so we can have an idea of our capacity, but what we can be sure of is the basic foundation truth of our being. And for me, the basic foundation truth that works well for me is things about information about the self. For example, I am an eternal being. So just this information, which I can experience in my meditation, I am eternal. So I always exist. I may exist in a weak form, or I may exist in a strong or a powerful form. I may exist in a peaceful form or in a peaceless way. Whatever it is, but I am, I exist, and I have always existed, and I will always exist. And so just that means that I know that I cannot die, for example. And this in itself is a big, big thing, because of course we know that the biggest fear tends to be the fear of death, which translates into all sorts of other fears. And so therefore, the biggest courage that I need is to face those moments which feel like death. And it's not just the physical death that can feel like death, but so many other moments can feel like death. And so we need to reinforce that basic foundation truth of who I am. And that will then translate into the courage that I need at whatever moment of need I have. And so, as I was saying earlier, I think that courage contains this energy that I need, or the power that I need to face any kind of situation or any kind of threat or temptation, for corruption, to go against myself, or any threat, so fear of the consequences, that if I do what I believe is right, which goes against some authority figure, then I'm afraid of the consequences, and therefore I go against myself. And so therefore I have not used the power that I need in order to stick by myself. And which that takes a lot of courage and a lot of certainty. So I may, by sticking by myself and by having that courage, the energy that I need, I may know that I could lose everything. I could lose my reputation, I could lose my relationships, I could lose money, I could lose my job, I could lose many things. And so it's a question of saying, well, what is it that I'm doing and why? What's the most important thing for me? And so we need to see what's at stake. And so for some people, for example, in their jobs, very often they're asked to do things that go completely against their principles. And so it's a moral dilemma that they are in. And so if they say no to the boss, then there will be consequences. And if they say yes, going against themselves, then there will also be consequences, because we get weaker and we have to live with ourselves, and our self-respect suffers. And so it's a choice, and it's not an easy choice, but it is a choice that we have. And so, of course, the opposite of courage is cowardice. So it is an option, and so it is a choice when we succumb to the threats or the temptations. And by succumbing, I'm stopping the fear, I'm stopping the threat, or I'm stopping the temptation. And that's one way, to stop the pain. But it's a way. The way of cowardice is something that will just keep me tied up. It will keep me bound and it will keep me enslaved, basically. And so that's where the choice is. Do I want to be free, or do I want to be a slave? And so, and it really is a very difficult choice, because there are many things at stake. And so the thing, what I find is that it's worthwhile working on building up the courage, on emerging the courage. And sometimes we may know of something that we have to do, that we should be doing, that we need to do, that we would like to do, which could be a conversation, it could be a decision, it could be a communication of some sort or some sort of change. But we don't want to look at it because we know that it's going to cost us. But sometimes the pain of not doing anything becomes greater than the pain of actually doing it. And that's when we do it. Not always, but often that's the case. And so I find that there are three, should we say, three steps that I find useful in emerging the courage, in helping me to emerge the courage. And I'll give you an example of that as well. And so one is to discern. So to be able to see inside of me, what is it that I need to do? What is the truth about this particular situation? And so I need to be able to see clearly. Discernment is my ability to sort out the truth from the falsehood, sort out what's honest or what's artificial and what's real. And so when I begin to see that, that's when I can then make a decision. So the second step is to actually decide what I'm going to do. Out of all my options, what is it that I want to do? And the third step is to actually do it, to just go in and do it. And so an example of this may be that I see that there are issues in my relationships with certain people. So it could be in working relationships or in family or with friends or in any kind of a situation. And I decide what I'm going to do. So I see what are the issues, and it's very important to be clear for the self, and it's not that easy, but we need to learn how to do that. And it's something for me personally that I'm learning about, how to actually name the issue. What is it that is disturbing for you? What is it that is the issue, and taking responsibility for it, which means that we then don't get stuck in blaming other people for how we are feeling. And so once I realize that there is an issue in this particular relationship, which could be that I feel that I am not able to say anything without it being, taken in a way that I'm doubting another person. So I'm not able to ask questions that are legitimately, clarifying questions without them being taken as if I am questioning the other person, in the sense of whether I'm trusting the other person. So I decide what I'm going to do. So that's the second thing. And it might be something that causes me a lot of fear to be able to speak directly to another person. And this is something that can be very intimidating, especially if the other person or the other people have often had strong reactions, because they may react and reject you, they may react and get angry with you, they may have all sorts of different reactions, and so what is it that I decide in that moment? What is it that I can do? And so this is where I may learn how to set boundaries, where I say, okay, I will, where I say, okay, I would like to interact with you, but this is a ground rule that we need to create a safe environment where we're each allowed to say whatever we want to say in a civilized, in a civil and respectful way, you know? And that we hear each other out without reacting, without interrupting, without making comments, that we actually choose to listen to each other. You know? And so it might be that I decide that that I will I will meet the other person, but up to a certain point. You know, that if the situation that has been an issue for me continues for more than 3 or 4 times, then I will stop my interaction with this person, or change it, or do whatever it is that I need to do. And this is where we need to clarify our boundaries. So I discern what is the issue, then I decide. So I put down my boundaries, and then I actually do it. So I invite the other person maybe for a conversation, and I take the courage to say, to express myself, to articulate what it is that I'm feeling, what is my issue. You know? And so this is, it's in a sense, we're talking about emerging courage where we may feel that we lack it, you know, where we feel, no, I can't do this, it's too difficult, it would just need too much of something that I don't feel I have. You know? And so we're training ourselves how to get to the point of having the courage to do what it is that we need to do. You know? Because otherwise we're stuck, we're trapped, we're slaves to a certain way of being. And the thing is that we need to expect turbulence, you know, that they may not be. Once I'm doing it, once I'm facing it, there could well be turbulence. You know? And I saw recently, there is this place in Australia called the Kimberley. So this is the northwest of Australia, and I've never been there, but I know someone who lived there for about a year, and just seeing the nature. Now there's so many things available on the internet that you can visit places without physically ever having to go there. And there is this one place that's called the Horizontal Falls. And basically what it is it's the sea. So it's like a bay, and it's a very narrow opening going from the ocean towards the coast. And so there are these two openings, and because of the way nature is there, the tide rushes in, so it rushes in at a huge high pace, and so it rises up to about 30 meters. The difference in the low tide and the high tide is about 30 meters. And so the amount of water that rushes through this narrow opening, and that's why it's called the Horizontal Falls. And so there are some people, and the boats need to come in and out from this opening. And so the boats, they know very well that it is very dangerous, because as the water rushes through, there's all sorts of currents and whirlpools and so on. But because they know how to do it, they know that they have to catch a current and go with that, and they know all the technical things. And even though whilst they're doing it, there's all sorts of possibilities of things that can go wrong, but they hold tight and they get through. and and so it's a little bit like that, I think, with the courage, is that when I take a risk, because courage involves taking risks, that there might be the risk of messing it up completely, of me blocking, of the other person just completely going off, or getting upset and angry, and rejecting and doing all sorts of things. But if my intention is clear, what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, and how I'm doing it, then I need to just launch myself in there. And there are, I mean, within nature, there's an amazing number of examples of this. There's this bird, and you might have seen this video as well. I mean, it's one of these clips that went round some time ago. But there is this bird, and I think it's a snow eagle or something like that, which when the baby, the chick, is born, after a little while, basically the parents push it off this cliff, which is something like 200 or 300 meters high, and then the parents fly down to the bottom of the cliff to receive the bird, the baby, and the baby just tumbles down and tumbles down, and finally reaches the bottom completely unhurt, and just sort of dusts itself off and walks towards the parents. It can't fly yet. And so this amazing, and I don't know if they know why that happens, but it's like this energy to do something that that you think you can't do, or you believe that you don't know how to do it, or you don't know how it will come out. And there's something that they call flow. There's this, when there's a huge intense difficulty, and you might have heard about this, is this energy called the energy of flow, FLOW, which means that people have this almost superhuman energy in those occasions, where someone is able to save someone else from drowning, or in some very, very difficult, intense situation, they suddenly get all this energy that they never knew they had. And so it's like emerging that courage, because it's very clear what it is you're doing. And so the aim is very clear in those moments. And that's when the courage emerges. And so, without necessarily getting into the intense situations which could happen, and I think probably at some point or another have happened and will happen maybe. But even in little things, in allowing that energy of courage to emerge, because I have clarity about what I'm doing, I believe in what I'm doing. So I'm not hesitating anymore. And it's when we hesitate, when we begin to have doubts about ourselves, that our courage weakens, our resolve weakens. And so we need to set aside those doubts. And so there's a difference between our conscience saying, hold on, stop a second, verify something. So that's not doubt. The energy of doubt is questioning my strength and my courage, and who do you think you are to do this, and you never managed it before and you won't manage it again. It's those voices that are weakening voices. So very different from the voice of our conscience or our intuition telling us, wait a minute, hold on a second, just check, double check. And so those are the moments where we can double check our intention. and re-clarify things for ourselves. And it's important not to overthink. This is sometimes overthinking about why and should and shouldn't and they said and what if. These are things that often tend to block us. So these were some thoughts that I wanted to share, and I have a little exercise that I thought we could do, together, and then we can have a meditation as well, and maybe we can use that as the meditation. And so the question is, or the task, shall we say, is to think about one area in your life at the moment where you would like to emerge courage, where you feel that you would need the courage. A little bit like we described, which could be in little things. It could be to have a difficult conversation. It could be to clarify something for yourself, that some place inside that you haven't been yet, some unexplored territory. To maybe to make a decision that you've been putting off. And so to think about one aspect, one area in your life where you would like to emerge courage. And what is it that you would need to clarify for yourself in that situation that would help you to use the energy of courage, emerge the energy of courage? So before we have a meditation, I don't know if anyone would like to say anything or make a comment or ask a question. At this point, it might be a good moment, and then we can get into the meditation. So I don't know if anyone would like to share anything, just any comment on what's been said and what's been shared. How you see courage, how you've used courage in your life. And if not, we can have a meditation. So that's fine too. So, okay, so we have a meditation, and so just maybe taking this same question, to which area in my life would I like to emerge the courage that is needed in order to free me in that particular situation. So what we're going to do is in the meditation to take ourselves to that place inside where maybe we can develop that courage. Okay. So find a comfortable position. Take a deep breath. Okay. And allow your body to relax. Make sure that there's no tension anywhere in any of the muscles in your body. Just verify from your feet all the way up to your stomach, your back, the shoulders and the arms, even the fingers, the back of the neck, and the muscles in the face. And just let a very gentle smile form itself on your face, which is one way to relax the muscles in the face. And let your eyes rest at one point. If you like, semi-open. And take a few deep breaths to regulate the energies in the body. And as I relax, I let the world out there just gradually fade into the distance. All the situations and the tasks, the issues, the urgencies, the different moments that I might have been through in my day. I just gently let them go so that I'm not holding on to anything. I'm not carrying any extra weight. And as my attention begins to focus itself inside, I feel the space in my mind opening up like a beautiful flower that opens in the sun. So that there is now space for me to create whatever it is that I wish to create. And I become aware of the energy of courage. That fast, strong flow of energy. The clarity and the love that I need in order to be whatever it is that I choose to be. And this energy of courage is harnessed by the energy of wisdom. So that there is balance. And the risk doesn't turn into rashness or carelessness. I'm courageous because I know who I am. I know deeply that I have nothing to lose. Because I have nothing, I own nothing. And in this way, I remain free and light. Carefree and careful. And I make space to gather the energy that I need to face that difficult situation or conversation or task. It is from here that I can connect my heart with the source of love, the Supreme. And as I connect, I become aware. I feel the flow of that energy into my being. The love that the Supreme has for me, the trust, the encouragement, the wisdom and clarity. And I accept all of that gracefully, with gratitude, as a gift. To be distributed and used at the time of need. I stay for a moment in this awareness of myself as the living, conscient being, the being of peace. And I let that peace shine into my life. And then I take a deep breath. Once again, feeling the energies of my physical body, harmonious and regular. And very gently, I move my hands, my feet. I move the muscles in my face. And I feel how my body feels, how I feel. And gently, I become aware of my physical surroundings. Thank you. So, if anyone would like to share anything, we have a few minutes. And just to say that I think courage is natural for the human spirit. We each, just as peace is natural, to be courageous is natural. No one needs to teach us how to do it. And it's a question of allowing it to emerge, facilitating its presence in our life. And I think that the times we live in require a lot of courage in order to live a life that is peaceful and content. We can live, we can survive, but if we want to be content in today's world, we need courage. And sometimes that courage is simply the courage to change the way we think about ourselves and about the world. So, thank you very much and have a wonderful afternoon.